So now that I have this rule sheet defined for this particular level, let's go back to the rule flow. Now again, I mentioned how this is a branch object that I'm hovering my mouse over right now. Now these are created within the rule flow by clicking on the branch button and placing it anywhere on our rule flow. And we'll have an error until we have filled out the necessary parameters. The parameters required will be to include any number of rule sheets or other rule flows from the Project Explorer and dragged into that branch. But we also need to define under what conditions we'll hit this rule asset versus another. So under what conditions will I be hitting 100K versus 250K, 500K, etc. The way that we do that is click in this white space here within this particular branch. And in the properties pane, where I have defined the title of the branch, being branch on coverage amount to state base rates, I've also defined what the branching attribute will be. Now to do this, I made sure that I have a explicit discrete number of potential options for this base coverage. So in the case when the field quote.baseCoverage has this particular value, I'll be routing the instance of the decision being executed only to this specific rule sheet, not the other ones, and then carry on to the subsequent rule sheets that are attached. Now, I'm not able to branch based upon just any string attribute. Obviously, that's not a very constrained parameter. Any alphanumeric string would be a bit open-ended. So in order to use this branching attribute for open-ended sorts of instances of attributes, I can either define, well, I can go with not open-ended types of attributes, such as a Boolean. And when I define what that branching attribute is, I can select by default only the constrained types of attributes, such as Boolean. Or I can go back to my rule vocabulary, and I can work with what are called custom data types over here. So what this is basically, I don't want to enable the end user rule modeler here to be able to define any last string of alphanumeric text that their heart desires. I want to constrain them to one of several values that I've predefined, perhaps for the purpose of just being able to have this branching capability available to me in rule modeling, but more likely to be able to ensure that I'm not defining any data values that are unexpected or incompatible with downstream or upstream systems that are very rigidly defined on the data model that we're working with. So if I scroll over here under coverage levels as a custom data type name, I can define any number of custom data types within these fields. I define within the dropdown the specific base data type. Again, I see basically everything but Boolean here because that's the one type of decision that would by default have a baked-in enumeration being true or false for Boolean. With this string base data type, I can define any number of values, and this will allow me to have the end user be given an error should they try to define any string of text upon any of the attributes that are given the data type of coverage level that does not conform to one of those four data types. So when I define this, I first define it within the data type under custom data types, and then I proceed to underneath the actual attribute that I would like to take that particular data type as the enumerated value. I can go over here, and it looks like base coverage was the particular attribute so far that I have configured the data type to not be just that base string, but instead be this value that I've defined as a custom data type for coverage levels. You'll see on the other ones, on these fields, I'll typically have just a string data type in front of me. A common area where we might want to use custom data types as well might be a very constrained list of geographic areas such as states, which we've not done yet, but it might be a good idea for a further enhancement.